Today, COVID-19 has proved to be a major disruption to global supply chains, with perhaps the human supply chain being most vulnerable. Engineering, production, and many other functional roles typically required to support plant operations now find themselves working from home and desperate to find ways to access advanced applications and other systems to continue to provide the expertise and guidance to keep manufacturing running safely and efficiently. I'm Peter Reynolds, Senior Analyst, and this is the Digital Transformation Viewpoints podcast brought to you by ARC Advisory Group. In each episode, we'll ask the big questions of how industry is adopting emerging technologies and practices for sustainable manufacturing, from better operational and engineering processes to blockchain. Today, however, our focus is advanced analytics for your remote workforce during the coronavirus outbreak. Here with me today is Michael Risse, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer with Seeq Corporation.
All right, thank you for having me today, Peter.
So, Michael, thanks for being with me today. So, asset owners, they tell us a lot. They have incredibly vast amounts of data collected and recorded and archived from various sources, yet many still, they struggle to find meaning in the data and provide insights and decision-making within a reasonable amount of time. So, within the context of digital transformation, they're looking to extract value from data that they already collect. Why do you think this is the case today?
Well, first of all, what I hear customers refer to as DRIP, data-rich information poor. So those are those asset owners with all that collected data and recorded from sources that you mentioned, and they're struggling with getting the insights out. So they're DRIP, they're data-rich, information poor. And the key challenge here is that data generation is ahead of analytics innovation, or has been ahead of analytics innovation, right? If you ask most engineers what they use most of the time, they're using spreadsheets. It's 2020. Spreadsheets came out first in 1985, very popular in the 90s. That's 30 years ago. And yet, at the same time, you've got cheaper sensors, cheaper connectivity. You've got the cloud for storing it. You've got all this innovation on the data generation side, right? And you don't have the equivalent innovation on the analytics and insight side. And that's setting up, or we already see it's a challenging situation, as you said, but that's a situation that's only going to get worse with more data and as more sensors come online.
Right. Yeah. I often hear that described as inputs and outputs. So the sensor collection, whether it be from PLCs or DCSs or SCADA systems, or even modern IoT collectors, they're all inputs. And until you start addressing it through analytics, that's the output side, or the outcome side. So it brings me to another point. It seems like many of the industries, and let's take the energy and chemicals industries, and maybe add some of the hybrid industries like pulp and paper here. It's focusing on collections and gathering instrumentation data like pressure, flow level, temperature, maybe data quality or something like that. It seems like the focus has been on single variable, single variate approaches. But now we hear more about the emergence of things like big data, and it seems data science has made an impact on industrial manufacturing through advanced analytics software. And I know process engineers have always been good at analyzing this data and performing the basic statistical analysis, but it just seems like today it's much easier to connect, it's much easier to get data context and actionable insights quickly. So what do you think about this?
Well, I think many customers would like it to be easier. Certainly that's our focus. As Seeq is a software application company, and we make advanced analytics, and that's absolutely our goal, which is to deal with the reality of three requirements. The first reality is, as you mentioned, the big data and all the data, and it's already there, and that's not going to change. It's going to get worse. The second thing is that the engineers, the process engineers, have expertise, education, experience. Those are the people who know what they're looking for. Those are the people who have the ability and the need to find the insights to improve the outcome. Any conversation that doesn't start with the process engineers or doesn't include the process engineers is a non-starter. You have to respect their position in the plant, their expertise, their abilities. And so that leads us from the data to the engineers to the third thing, which is something needs to change in the innovation space, the analytics applications that those engineers use. And I would, differentiate or use an example, as consumers, we have incredible innovation we can tap. We can use Google, we can use Uber, we can use Alexa, we can talk to our phones, or we can talk to our refrigerators. There's all of this innovation that's been captured by the consumer world. What can we bring in that data science, big data, innovation into the industrial world to then enable these engineers to find those insights in that data? So it's a three-part story. The data, the engineers, they've got to be in the equation, and then better applications and application experiences to find the insights more quickly.
So it seems like cloud computing is playing a bigger role here in helping companies develop analytics. And even thinking today, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis and the current pandemic, and companies that have invested in cloud services such as email. Let's take Office 365 as an example. Companies that were already cloud enabled with their email. They've packed up their resources. They shut down badges to enter plants. Only essential workers were entering facilities, and just about every engineer on the planet, whether you're on a project team or you're on an operations team, they're all working from home. And when I speak to companies that are using cloud services to support at least their collaboration tools, they seem to be not missing a beat, and they're still in some cases certain industries their business is up, such as petrochemical and pulp and paper, and some industries are certainly seeing some wins from what's going on. But what in terms of big data and analytics, is cloud changing this discussion in any way? What do you think?
Well, I agree with your assessment on the cloud cloud arriving, cloud impact. But your example actually tells an interesting story, right? Whose side of the house is it when they're enabling remote employee access? That's the IT side of the house. The IT side of the house has been ahead so far in cloud adoptions. On the OT, on the manufacturing side of the house, what we see a lot more cloud on roadmaps than we see in implementation. It is on most every customer's roadmap, but it is more likely to be a conversation or a roadmap item than okay, we've already moved to the cloud, we've already got a data lake, we've already got these things in place. So again, the consumers are ahead on the innovation side. Right. IT is ahead so far on the cloud side. Now that is changing. I mentioned the roadmap. I certainly see a number of leading customers who are moving workloads to the cloud. And it's really both sides of the equation. One, it's the data. Right. Let's collect and assemble the data that we've got in these different plants. Let's do cross-company, cross-plant comparisons, roll-ups, best practices. And then the second part is the data side. Let's take advantage of the elasticity, the rental model, and the time to insight enabled by a cloud analytics play. So you can get your analytics up and going tomorrow and have insights by the end of the week by connecting to the data, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. So a couple different stories there. Obviously, one is the manufacturing side of the house seems to be lagging the IT side of the house in that implementation. We do see obvious opportunities both on the data side and then on the analytics side to take advantage of cloud benefits and drive better outcomes.
So it's interesting, and I think about it's not just email, and we've seen cases where core systems like SAP are moving to Amazon Web Services or Azure just because it's either more secure, and it's elastic, it's portable, it's got a licensing model that matches their business needs. You're right, that's on the IT side of the house. But when you start thinking about manufacturing technologies and data that resides in the plant, I think it's been a little lukewarm in interest in using cloud solutions for manufacturing. Is COVID-19 really the push that you think, or will it change customer buying perceptions?
It's moving something, I will tell you that. The acceleration of discussions, right? It used to be, well, we can get to this and it's a plus or minus, and today it feels just like we're living in an extreme time. And whether it's oil and gas prices, which are extreme, or the working conditions where you've got people working from home, which is extreme, or you mentioned a couple of the industries where their sales and offerings are up. Like if imagine you're a toilet paper manufacturer right now, you're probably pulling out all the stops to make as much as possible and recover from all the purchasing. So it's an extreme time, and normal business practices are definitely being re-examined to adjust and accommodate the extreme time that we are in. And again, It could be oil prices, could be COVID, could be a spike in demand. It just feels like there's a lot of re-examining of how things are working and what people have been doing and the speed at which the cloud has been adopted. That is quickly changing people's perceptions and people's actions.
I had a discussion with an executive recently, and this was in hybrid industry. And this is one of the companies that had migrated and brought some of their applications to the cloud. So
was that on the IT side or the OT side?
I guess this would be probably both.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So they've got plant applications in the cloud as well. But the interesting thing is we started to talk about a new way to work, and I think that there's a thought process that's taking place where there's a workforce in transition. We don't know how long COVID-19 is going to go on. Certainly it could be for a long time. But what I think companies are learning is they've moved their employees to home offices. They're using the tools and they're getting the job done. But they're also they're not burning fuel in their car. Mm-hmm. There's a productivity improvement. So this, might be, something that's really, really positive, going forward. But to move to this model, a workforce in transition, how the organization is going to be challenged? Because, after all, the engineers are not in the same place as the IT shops, right? Mm-hmm. Say you're an engineer, your email works, and you need access to manufacturing data. What are some of the challenges that the engineers and your customers will face in getting access to data, and how do you think you would be able to help them overcome those challenges?
Well, what's interesting is we've been working on Seeq for the last several years, and there was just an approach in the company, a strategy, a philosophy of both being agile and modern. And there were a number of people who don't like the modern world because everybody's always talking about being modern in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. But
right.
Part of the modern piece was, look, this is going to be cloud ready. This is going to be remote ready. This is going to be virtual ready. And so a number of aspects of our product, whether they're web-based applications or whether there's real-time collaboration between two people in different places, something you might see in Google Docs as an example, or there's the ability to get to those underlying data sources in a secure way, with IT support for access to the data, that most of the things we've been working on have a new set of urgency in this environment, because if Seeq is set up, then it's going to handle those challenges out of the box. It's set up to be remote. It's set up to be virtual. It's set up for browsers. It's set up to access the data sources you need. It's set up for things like virtual shift handovers. I can create a document, create it as a report. It's available to you, in a virtual model. So whoever's coming in or picking something up is going to be able to see exactly what they need to, because there's knowledge capture in there that, again, supports the idea that I don't see you, but I pass to you. And therefore, what I did is more transparent to you and can be taken advantage of. So we've seen this, and part of this, actually interesting, you talked about the organizational change. I mean, what about the workforce change? The model that we were designing for with these expectations, it's certainly because we thought COVID was coming. We thought it was the millennials. We thought it was a new generation of employees that are going to look, this is how I work and where I'm going to work. And yes, it needs to be done securely. Yes, admin needs to be locked down. And yes, it needs to be appropriate. But there are a number of considerations for employee flexibility, employee distance, operating centers, for example, in major cities, so it can look at data and how things are going and conduct best practices, on remote locations, or share those with the remote locations, or the dirty, distant, and dangerous plants where a lot of these things happen. So we wanted to be modern, we wanted to be millennial ready, and those challenges you described were both within our design principles.
And I guess that's, you bring up some good points. We've always been collaborative. Engineers and operators and maintenance and supply chain people, they all work together, and they're all centered around either, one facility, maybe a remote center of excellence, or it could be at the plant. And I think most of the collaboration, at least around the the real time decision making, it still happens in a plant today. You take a central control room or an operating center.
Mm-hmm.
So the engineers and the maintenance staff, they're just used to seeing the operator, the operators in the charge of a production or a facility. This could be a refinery or a chemical plant, or it could be a facility that makes beer. But that collaboration channel has completely changed, and now engineer is at home, maintenance person is at home, and so are the other roles. So do you see the tools helping to bridge those gaps in real time?
Absolutely. And for a lot of that expertise, I mean, again, typically it's conducted on spreadsheets. It's funny, there was the Journal of Petroleum Engineering just had a recent article, or a recent blurb about, I think it was the CIO from BP, who said, you have to hide spreadsheets from him, because he's like, no more of that, right? All of that IP that's getting logged into that spreadsheet are held to that person, because that's practically where a lot of things happen. Yeah. And now it can be transparent. And now I can explain, or one person can explain to another what they did and why they did it. And now the underlying assumptions can be presented and captured, right, for use by other organizations. And all of this push, remote transparency in a way also ties to technical transparency of the underlying data, analytics, assumptions, models. So it's a physical change maybe from working remotely. What's more interesting is the IP change that's forcing the transparency of, okay, here's what people knew or people thought that now needs to be expressed and reused.
Interesting. Okay. So Michael, we're coming to the close of the podcast today. Do you have any last thoughts for the audience?
Well, I guess one thing that we do here with respect to the cloud, and we talked about both the ingest side with data creation and the outgest side with analytics. And I guess I just encourage people to keep those two conversations separate, right? Moving data should not be a prerequisite to analytics and insights. There may be great reasons to move in your data, consolidate your data, but analytics can start tomorrow with your data where it is, and then support you as your data moves, or if your data moves, whether it's to the cloud or to a central location. But there are immediate opportunities for analytics with your data where it is, in silos, historians, wherever it is, that can really bring a new experience with the data where it is, and then you can have your strategy for where the data will go. But it's something you can start immediately. And I think that surprises people, because there's so much language around, well, if you want this new insight, the first thing you need to do is something with the data. And that's just not what we see in our successful customers. Your data's fine. Your analytics needs some help. Your engineers are wonderful. They may be on-prem or working remotely, and you've got too much data. I mean, that's the summary, so let's get started.
Well, thanks very much, Michael.
My pleasure, Peter. Thanks.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks to Michael Risse, Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer with Seeq Corporation. For more information and insights on this topic, or to learn best practices to accelerate transformation, please visit the ARC Advisory Group website at www.arcweb.com. Please do subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss an episode. And while you're there, leave us a review. And in the meantime, from Peter Reynolds, thank you for listening and goodbye.